It is July 6, 2022, and
I
you're
can
watching
probably
the
pause
Code
it.
Report. One of the most profound quotes about the JavaScript ecosystem comes from an old British guy who said,
"Out of intense complexities, intense simplicities emerge."
At the time, nobody knew what the hell he was talking about, but in 2022, it's clear he was prophesizing the rise of a new JavaScript runtime called Bun. That's right, you no longer need Node.js or Dino, so go ahead and uninstall those from your system.
Right, so this is probably the first interesting point, because in that interview, Jared said that Bun being a runtime happened basically like as the last thing that that happened. It was a bundler, and it just, I think the good way to put it is that he saw that the more stuff he touches, the easier it's going to be to integrate everything. And he gave an example. He wrote a really fast SQLite implementation, and it was kind of outside of the scope, but on the other hand, he's like, yeah, but now I can write a really quick SQLite applications, even though in a sense, it's, if everything is fast, but this one thing is slow, everything is kind of slow. So Bun becoming a runtime, it turned out to be an optimization, but it didn't start this way. Bun is fighting a lot of fights at the same time. Bun is a really fast way to install Node modules, so it is kind of fighting against Yarn and PNPM. Bun is a runtime, so it's fighting against Node and Dino. Bun is a bundler, so it's fighting against ESBuild, SWC, or what's this? It's called something like that, or like Webpack, or Vite, or Babel. So it's really interesting if he's going to be able to do all of that at the same time. And yeah, so I think this is just a long way of saying it's not just the runtime.
Right now. Bun just announced its first beta release and makes the claim that it's significantly faster than Node or Dino. Not just a little bit faster, but orders of magnitude faster.
Yeah, and even the point of being JavaScript runtime, it started as a JavaScript runtime that you run on your development server, but now maybe it's a good runtime to use on your production server, and maybe it's a good runtime to have on edge provider, so Dino deploy or so like Netlify or Cloudflare workers. Why don't you have a Bun on edge, and then it's super fast?
It's always a good idea to be skeptical about benchmarks provided by the creator of a tool, but as you can see here, it's about
yeah, it's funny that Jared posted a poll on Twitter. What do you think is the best benchmark to show on the website?
3 times faster when server rendering React, running database queries, or executing native code with foreign functions.
Impressive. Very nice.
But what I'm more excited about is what this tool can do to simplify your life as a developer. We'll get into that.
It's kind of too small for me to see. Fetch, WebSocket, readable stream. So I don't know. So in terms of simplifying, what I see here is that it simplifies working with TypeScript. It simplifies working with JSX. Other than that, hopefully it will simplify working with native modules. Okay, if I want to run this code that I wrote in C++, maybe Bun is going to be a better way of doing that, and some kind of better abstraction, but I don't know that yet. So yeah, maybe .env will simplify life.
That in just a minute, but first I know my mom is going to ask me what a JavaScript runtime is in the first place. You can think of JavaScript like gasoline. It's dangerous and bad for the environment, and by itself isn't very useful. To make JavaScript or gasoline useful, it needs to run through an engine. To convert it into raw energy or machine code for a CPU. The most popular JavaScript engine is Google's V8, which powers Chrome, Node, and Dino, and makes JavaScript execution extremely fast with just-in-time compilation. Now, gasoline combined with an engine still isn't very useful. The average...
Yeah, just a quick note about JIT, I guess. A lot of people are skeptical about benchmarks and saying, okay, but if you have a just-in-time compilation and eventually V8 will optimize all the code to be as fast as possible once it's running enough times. So if you have a server that is serving, I don't know, like 10,000 requests per second, after a few seconds, everything that it's running is hot and it's going to be really fast. So maybe bun is not going to be as performant in the long run. And I think there are two replies to that. One is, yeah, but bun is going to be faster on the startup. So your first 10,000 requests are going to be served faster. And if we are talking about something serverless, where maybe you won't have as bad as cold starts, or maybe you're only replying to requests rarely, so maybe every other time you have a cold start, and maybe we won't have millions of requests, as you were saying, to get it hot. And the other reply is that the thing that Jira does is not as simple as, okay, let's prepare some of this stuff to be more easily started on a cold start. A lot of it is just doing less work. So for example, his faster React render or something like that, it's not going to be as fast with just-in-time compilation, just because it's doing more work. So it doesn't matter if it's doing it as optimal as possible, it's just more work.
Person wants that engine in a car with user-friendly APIs like wheels, file system access, subwoofers, WebSockets, automatic transmission, and so on. A JavaScript runtime is a complete car. All you have to do is put a little bit of JavaScript in the tank, and it will take you anywhere you want to go.
Right, so this idea of
subwoofers, WebSockets, automatic transmission, and so on. A JavaScript runtime is
right. So if you have an engine, apart from the engine, you have to have some kind of APIs. So in Node you have, I don't know, file write sync file, I forget. But in bun you have bun.write something. All of those APIs are cool, but there are also APIs like fetch or WebSocket and so on. The ones that should be kind of standard between JavaScript runtime and browser. And Jared was saying that it's cool that he uses basically not only the engine that WebKit is using, but he's using the WebKit itself. So a lot of things that are already implemented in browsers, he can reuse, and he doesn't have to implement them himself. Or how he put it, I don't have to test them, test them myself.
Is a complete car. All you have to do is put a little bit of JavaScript in the tank, and it will take you anywhere you want to go. Now that we're done with that ridiculous analogy, let's talk about what makes bun special. A big one is obviously performance, but how does it actually go so fast? Well, first of all, it doesn't use the V8 engine, but instead uses JavaScript core from WebKit, which is generally considered to be faster, but more difficult to work with. In addition, it's written in a low-level programming language called Zig. This is a relatively new language that's similar to C or Rust, and the creators of Bun say the lack of hidden control flow makes it much simpler to write fast software. It's fun to go fast, but more importantly, Bun is an all-in-one runtime. It has
Okay, so they touched a bit on the like C, on Rust and Zig, I think even on Go. And yeah, I think the comment that I left is that Rust is how you write safe code, which matters a lot if you're writing a browser that is used by millions of people and is written by hundreds of people. And Zig is like C but faster, and it is like simpler and faster. So simpler in a sense that you don't have to use templates or macros, all of that stuff. You're using the same syntax with comp time directive to do a lot of pre-processing at build time. And what's left? C++ is when you want to do everything wrong. Yeah, about Go. I think he said that Go is kind of concerning because of garbage collection. You have garbage collection in the JavaScript runtime, you have garbage collection in Go, and it's probably going to be not synchronized, and you will pay the price twice.
Or Rust, and the creators of Bun say the lack of hidden control flow makes it much simpler to write fast software. It's fun to go fast, but more importantly, Bun is an all-in-one runtime. It has a native bundler to replace tools like Webpack, and also has a native transpiler so you can write TypeScript code out of the box, with cool features like top-level await, an idea that's already been pioneered by Dino, but Bun will also transpile your JSX files. Also like Dino, it prioritizes.
Yeah, so JSX stuff is interesting. So Dino does some transpilation of JSX, and I don't know it enough to know what the limitations are, but I think on Dino deploy it doesn't do it as much as like local Dino. So yeah, it's an interesting point, but I don't know the answer fully.
Uses web APIs like Fetch, while at the same time also supporting many Node core modules, as well as Node API, which will allow many NPM packages to also work in Bun. In fact, it implements Node's module resolution algorithm, which means you can install packages from NPM into Bun, and those packages install 20 times faster. It feels like magic. Another nice ergonomic feature is that environment variables load automatically. It's not like Node.js where you have to install .env into every project. It also comes with its own test runner similar
.env. Yeah, I don't I haven't worked with Node on the server. I only work with CRA or something, right? That does the .env files for you.
To Jest. And as you might imagine, it's fast. Some might even call it blazingly fast. Sounds awesome, but keep in mind this project is in its infancy. There will be bugs. If you're on Windows, you'll have to use WSL, and even that gave me some issues. But overall, my final analysis on Bun is that this thing is bussin', no cap, for real. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Right. It's interesting how people are much more excited about Bun than Dino. In a sense, it's probably because Bun is not saying you're doing everything wrong, let's do it the right way. So yeah, so it's a bit of a marketing victory. Yeah. On the other hand, it's probably easier for people to understand, okay, I can do most of the stuff that I do, but faster. It's easier to sell than Dino of like, okay, let's do everything the same, but in a right way. And it's like, okay, you think that this way is right, but how do you convince me?